You're listening to the Archaeology Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, Chris Webster here, founder of the Archaeology Podcast Network. And as the APN takes a break this holiday season, we'd like to bring you episodes of shows you may not be aware of. Today's offering is from the Archaeology Show. It's actually a show that I host with my wife, Rachel. We usually cover news articles. In this show, we have a little bit of a theme, and that's Atlantis. Lost city or a lost cause? We have a few articles regarding different lost cities, and not only that, but Atlantis. So enjoy this episode and find it on the Archaeology Podcast Network or wherever you find podcasts. On to the show.
You're listening to the Archaeology Show. TAS goes behind the headlines to bring you the real stories about archaeology and the history around us. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Archaeology Show, episode 311.
On today's show, we talk about the discovery of a rare sealed Maya tomb and the latest discovery of Atlantis, quote unquote.
Let's dig a little deeper and find Atlantis 1, 2, 3, 4. What are they?
How many are there?
No, what would the other Atlanteans be called? B Atlantis, Atlantis C, Atlantis D. I don't even know what we would call them.
I have no idea.
I don't know. Welcome to the Archaeology Show.
Hello. So we are still in Alaska, of course, because we're spending the summer here. And we keep moving around the Kenai Peninsula, and we've gotten to the other side from where we were last week, and we're in Homer, and it is yet another super cool spot. And we're parked looking at water and glaciers, and because of that, we are sitting in the front seat of the RV so that we can talk, but also enjoy this lovely view.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We're surrounded by glaciers. We can see 3 of them out our window.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
It's the other side of the Harding ice field from when we were in Seward, and just see this mountain range covered in snow, and there's a volcano behind us that we can't see.
Yeah.
And it's just a really cool place.
It's so amazing. It's so beautiful here, and we keep finding these really great spots where, like, you don't need reservations. It's crazy. Yeah. That's been one of the most shocking things about coming to Alaska. Just, like, sidetrack about RVing to Alaska real quick, which I know is not everybody's favorite thing, but whatever, we're doing it anyway. But one of the most amazing things to me has been, like, the lack of needing a reservation, if that makes sense.
Still makes me nervous.
It does make me a little nervous because we might roll up somewhere and have nowhere to stay, but also there's always somewhere to stay.
Yeah.
But there are these first come, first serve parks in Alaska, and I guess everybody's afraid of them, afraid of not getting a spot in one of them. But what that means is that when we get there, they're like mostly empty. And like we literally rolled into this park on Friday early afternoon-ish. And after a little bit of like jumping around, us and our friends that we're traveling with managed to pull into 2 like waterfront spots right next to each other. And now we're just staring at the bay and the mountains and the glaciers and the town and everything. And it's just like the coolest spot ever. And it's cheap, and it was no reservations, and we can keep it loose, keep it flexible like we like to do. So that's great. Yeah. Oh, but the whole reason we started talking about this was because of our squeaky chairs.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, I'm in my squeaky front chair.
Yeah.
Because you might hear that. But
yeah, you
way,
might hear us moving around because these chairs are squeaky. But I'm sorry, we're sitting looking at a glacier. So that's where we're going to sit to podcast, which is not our normal chairs.
Who else had a good seat?
Oh, God. Who?
This Mayan ruler. Yes. Gosh. We're actually only doing 2 news articles today.
Yeah.
Because the second one, I just felt like we would probably be able to talk for 2 segments on this because it's a lot. And I just feel like it's necessary because of the ridiculousness of it. But we'll get to it. Yeah,
we'll get there. But we didn't want to pass over this first article, too, which came out fairly recently, and it's just a really cool find.
So the tomb we're going to talk about was discovered in Caracol, which is a major Maya city in modern-day Belize.
Yeah, and we found 2 articles about it. One is from Smithsonian Magazine, a favorite of ours, called Archaeologists Unearth Treasure-Filled Tomb Belonging to the First Known Ruler of a Maya City in Belize. And then these are both linked in our show notes, of course. And then the second article is called Scientists Find Tomb of a Maya King and His Ancient Treasures, but Who Was He? And that one was in National Geographic. And personally, I like the National Geographic story better. It is longer. It has more details. It has more photos. Usually Smithsonian's pretty good at this, but this one just wasn't quite as good as they normally are. But it is behind a paywall if you don't have access to the Apple News app. So you can always read the Smithsonian one, which is not behind a paywall.
Yeah. Yeah, so this was excavated by a team from University of Houston, and it's a husband and wife team that have been working for 40 years down here.
Yeah.
Named Arlen and Diane Chase. And the find occurred during a dig under the Northeast Acropolis, a ceremonial and residential structure located near Cana, Caracol's tallest building, which is about 140 feet high.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and you read the first article, and the Smithsonian Magazine article, and it sounds like it's straight out of a movie because they had dug there before, they had been there before, they decided to re-examine this one area.
Like 1993, I think.
Yeah.
So what was that, 40 years ago? 30 years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't 40 years. Hey now.
30 years ago.
Now.
I can math.
Yeah.
Anyway, 30 years ago, a little over.
Yeah, I graduated in 1993.
Oh, ew.
Wow.
Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So they are digging in this floor and just happen upon this chamber, this totally sealed up chamber. And I'm like, that is straight out of an Indiana Jones movie.
It really is.
And they just find this chamber full of never before seen things.
Yeah.
And it turns out it's this tomb of this one percenter, they called it.
The guy called it one percenter, which is so funny.
Yeah.
Because he was clearly super rich based on the grave goods and the presentation of the grave and everything, which we'll get into. But so funny.
So the tomb likely belonged to Ty Cobb. Wait a minute.
Nope. Try that again.
Nope, not Ty Cobb.
Tay Cobb?
Yeah, Tay Cobb.
Tay Cobb Chalk.
Yeah, Tay Cobb Chalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first known ruler of Caracol.
Yeah. And take that word likely and really focus in on that because they're doing a lot of storytelling and not assuming, but like educated guessing based on all of the stuff that we're about to tell you about, which is fine, I think. But they definitely have not found like any hieroglyphs or anything that specifically say his name yet. It's just he's the most logical occupant of this tomb.
Yeah. Yeah, they believed he rose to power around AD 331 based on hieroglyphic texts that are around. So the discovery marks the first time a tomb has been definitively linked to a specific Maya ruler at this site, which is cool.
Yeah. Again, the definitively part is still a little bit up in the air. They're still doing more research.
Well, it sounds, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like they're pretty sure he was a ruler.
Oh yes, he was definitely a ruler.
Yeah. So it is linked to a ruler. And this is the first time a tomb has been linked to a ruler, but we're not maybe 100% certain on which ruler it is.
Yeah, that would probably be fair because given the richness of the grave goods or whatever. Yeah, for sure.
Certainly wasn't John.
No, it wasn't like a rando. Definitely not. Or even just like a rich guy. It had to be somebody who was both rich and important.
Yeah.
So,
Jorge the Taco Man. It wasn't him.
No, not him.
Yeah.
So the chamber was sealed and had not been looted, which is rare for any tomb anywhere, but in particular for Mayan tombs, which is great. And I can't get over the fact that like in 1993, had they like dug a little bit more or in a slightly different area, they would have found it. But at least they went back to this area 30 years later and they did find it.
I know, it just makes you wonder. You're standing on a surface or you're digging and you're thinking, okay, that's it. I guess we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Like how many times have you just been right over the surface of something else?
Yeah, for sure. And
especially like Egypt and...
Yeah, where they're just on top of each other. That's what I was just going to say is this particular site had... I think hundreds of tombs. So finding a tomb is not unusual, and it wouldn't have been. They probably thought that there were more tombs in that area. There was a reason to move and go somewhere else, so they did, and didn't get back to this area for a while. And they couldn't have known it would be the tomb of a really important ruler guy. When they found hundreds of tombs, who knows what the next one is going to be, or if it's been looted, or what condition it's in.
Yeah. Now this tomb, the person they found was actually interesting. So the human remains they found were identified as a toothless adult male, approximately 5 feet 7 inches tall, suggesting he was old. Yeah,
I think toothless, and also like that the recession where gum teeth like either recede or the bone structure starts receding away from the teeth and it becomes very prominent. That was what they were seeing for sure too. The body had been coated in red cinnabar, which is a pigment made of mercury sulfide that is commonly used in elite Maya burials. This is where the 1% comment came in, because to see that much red cinnabar was like, this guy was important and rich.
They also said this was the oldest tomb that they had found like this. And I wonder if the, I don't know, uniqueness of the red cinnabar had become more elite as time gone on, because maybe it was more hard to find, more difficult to find, or something like that. But you think about those inferences, like you go farther back, is like the red cinnabar, was it as coveted, you know, by rulers and things like that at that time?
Yeah, because like that kind of stuff it's a little bit driven by fads, right? So it's like what's popular at the time, what's valuable, what they have access to, all that kind of stuff plays into it as well.
Yeah, I always think about stuff like that. Like we always think, throughout history, we've got this, so this must be the oldest one that shows this thing. But
oldest evidence, that's the most important thing. It is the oldest evidence of it, but not necessarily the oldest. You can never say it's the oldest. You just, unless you lived in that time, you just can't.
Yeah. Yeah, the tomb had a massive collection of artifacts, indicating royal or elite status.
Of course. Yeah. Some of those items included jadeite jewelry, including 3 ear spools, a jadeite mosaic mask, which was broken but still present, carved bone tubes, likely inscribed or decorative.
Yep. There was also shells, which were often used in Maya ritual and adornment. 11 pottery vessels, some of which were painted with some of the following images of Maya gods and mythological creatures, depictions of animals like hummingbirds, owls, monkeys, kotamundi, which I think I read in there was like a raccoon.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
One vase featuring a warrior holding a spear, possibly representing the ruler himself, and another showing the merchant god Ekchua, indicating possible involvement in trade. And I did read in the article that the ear spools, also known as ear flares, they said that these people that have been researching for 40 years in the chases, they said it's odd to find one set, let alone 3, associated with a burial or grave or something like that. Again, that's like ridiculously rare.
This is top tier. This is somebody who it was very important to send him into whatever their afterlife belief was, with as many rich and a large quantity of these goods. Yeah, it's really cool. And also, anybody who has access to the articles, go take a look at the images. There's some images of the paintings that are on the ceramics, and they really are just super gorgeous. So really high quality paintings and images for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Historical significance wise, this discovery confirms Caracol's early political organization and also its role in the broader Maya world by the time we get to this time period, which is the classic period.
Just in case I am not as good an editor as I think I am, or a sound engineer, we are in a tight RV park, and a generator just started up right next to us. So
like a really loud one.
Yeah, so you know, we don't use our generator hardly at all because we have solar panels, lithium batteries.
We are off-grid capable. We've been charging all day.
We haven't started it since we got here.
No, we haven't. It's been probably 4 or 5 days since we've needed to use it. And that time's probably coming to an end, because there will probably be clouds and rain tomorrow, and we'll have to use it at some point. But it only takes a little bit of sun during the day for us to stay up.
You know who else didn't need a generator? Chak is credited with founding the dynasty without a generator that would go on to make Caracol one of the most powerful Maya cities.
Yes, and the presence of Ekchua suggests Caracol had established trade routes or was influenced by commercial activity as early as the 4th century CE. So this tomb, it provides a direct link between material culture and the actual like records that we have, because they had the Mayan hieroglyphs. So we've got, we do have written record for them through the hieroglyphs, and then to actually find the material that kind of back up what we've been seeing. Yeah. That just helps you understand more about who the Maya royal people were, how important they actually were based on the grave goods that you find with them. It's nice. It's like backup evidence, right? Yeah. It like makes what you read on the walls match up with what actually happened in real life, or at least in the burial.
Yeah. Yeah. archaeologists view this tomb as a foundational moment in Maya history at Karakul. I think what really strikes me about something like this is you just mentioned the developed political structure and all that stuff. This didn't just spring up out of nowhere, right?
Right.
So there must have been rulers before this guy. There must have been royalty before this guy. There must have been political structure before this guy. There's just not evidence of it. And this is maybe when they started writing things down or something like that. But there has to be a long history well before that of some sort of tribal political organization that led to this, obviously. So it doesn't just spring up out of nothing, so to speak.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And the other really important thing about it, too, is that it was undisturbed. Grave robbers really mess with the context of a grave. And so to find this one to fully intact is just really amazing and gives a great insight into how the people viewed this ruler after his death. Because you don't take that much care with somebody that is not loved. He might have been feared too, I don't know, but at least he was revered and loved enough for people to put this much effort into his afterlife. So that's also a really interesting little puzzle piece to put into place about this group of people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
On the other side of the break, we're going to start our next two segments, and we're going to talk about, wait for it, Atlantis has been found.
Oh, God.
If you haven't heard it before yet, you've heard it now. Back in a minute. Welcome back to episode 311, The Archaeology Show. And now we're going to talk about the latest discovery of Atlantis. Now, I started seeing this article probably about a week and a half ago or so, and I brushed it off. I don't know if I want to talk about this, because this is stupid. But then I actually read, because I just saw headlines, and I actually read one of the articles, because, I mean, it's probably, I would say, a few times a year somebody talks about Atlantis, some way or another.
Yeah.
They're almost like Stonehenge articles, except those are real and backed by science.
Right.
We saw this one, and I'm like, no. But it's just everywhere, and this particular person that is making these current claims happens to have some of their own backing and is probably going to make some waves. And that's why I figured we should talk about it, because you guys are going to see it. And we know you're smart enough not to believe this kind of stuff and kind of dig into it, but this is what the Archaeology Show does.
Yeah, I think it's really important to talk about these stories, because the way they get packaged up sometimes makes it seem like it's legitimate science. And this article that you linked to is from Men's Journal, which is a silly place to pull articles from. But honestly, we do it fairly often. Men's Journal, Popular Mechanics, your favorite one.
I mean, they're so popular.
But it's like these weird news sources are picking up archaeology and historical and reporting on it recently, and I don't know why, but
it's for clicks.
It's for clicks. That's why they're doing it.
If half the world out there is Apple users, right? And they are using their Apple News app, and they are looking at news. Now, the other half are Google users, and they're using their Google News app and doing the same damn thing, right?
Yeah.
So they're looking at their Google News, they're looking at their Apple News, or Apple users are looking at Google News. It doesn't actually matter. You're looking at aggregated news by these companies, and the companies that either pay the most amount of money or have the best SEO, search engine optimization, they're going to get in front of your face, right?
Yeah.
And all they're trying to do is get you to click on their article, which takes you to their website, and then you read this crazy article, and then you're like, oh, what's this other thing I can click on? That's their only hope.
Yeah.
That's why Men's Journal is reporting on a discovery of Atlantis. They're not an archaeology outlet.
Right.
They don't care. And to their credit, right at the beginning of the article, they do cite the actual article they took it from, which isn't even a source article to begin with.
Right.
And it turns out there is no source article for this. So we're going to get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's why we're talking about this, because it's the kind of crap that you're going to see in your news feeds, so we need to talk about it.
Yeah, and we've always said that's why we talk about this stuff. And sometimes it's because we're applauding really great research, and then sometimes it has to be like this, where it's, look at what is out there now. Right. Anyway, okay, so the other reason why this popped up, because you saw this article, and you mentioned it to me, and I was like, oh, is it the thing that Andrew talked about?
Yeah.
Because I do most of the editing for the APN, and last week's episode for Pseudo Archaeology, I think it was last week, it came out on July 2nd, so, a little over a week ago. And it was Andrew Kinkella in his show, he talked about the Cosmic Summit 2025, which is where this new, quote unquote, new research was revealed.
Yeah.
And he covered it a bit in that episode. So that was where I first heard about it. And we will link to his show in the show notes so that if you are interested in listening to him break it down, you can go and listen to his show.
And we'll link to a few other things too that we'll talk about here in a minute.
Yeah, for sure.
But to get into this a little bit, first off, this little sort of quote from actually the Live Science article that I linked to that kind of breaks a lot of this stuff down really good. It says, Atlantis found, exclamation point. Again, and as usual, scientists are raising their eyebrows.
Yeah.
So we'll get into some other stuff from the Live Science article a little bit later in that segment.
Yeah. But what's the claim itself?
Yeah.
Let's get into what that is.
The person making this claim is a guy named Michael Donnellan. And in the Men's Journal article and the one they linked to, which we're linking to both of them.
Yeah.
And again, I don't even know. I can't even barely tell what the thing is that Men's Journal is linking to. It's hard to tell what it is. It's something or other. I don't even know.
Yeah, it's according to Diario AS.
It's weird. You click on it, and I don't even know what this website is, really. I can't figure it out. But anyway, Michael Donnellan is calling himself an archaeologist, claims to have found Atlantis off the coast of Cadiz, Spain, which I think is in the Straits of Gibraltar from the reading I did.
Southern Spain, yeah.
Yeah. He presented his findings again at the Cosmic Summit, which took place in Greensboro, North Carolina,
Yay,
June 20th
North Carolina. Good
to the
job.
23rd, yeah. 2025. He released a documentary featuring underwater footage of concentric stone rings and ruins that he says match Plato's description of Atlantis. So that's the claim.
Yet another.
And the first anybody actually knew about this was the trailer he showed at this, like Comic-Con style.
Yeah.
At this show.
Yeah.
At this conference.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like there's no peer-reviewed science. There's no anything. We'll get to him in a minute.
And that's why you have to be skeptical of this stuff. Because if it's one dude who comes out with some pictures and some big claims and is, look what I found. You just have to be skeptical of that.
Let's talk about his findings.
Yeah.
Or what he did find stuff.
Sure.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah, there's stuff there.
So he found, and there's video footage of this. He's a diver, had dive teams down there, and he's actually the film company that he owns, which we'll get to in a minute, is actually partnered with like a laser scanning company. I can't remember what they are, something like that. Okay. Yeah, but they found 3 concentric walls underwater, what they're calling walls, a rectangular central, quote, monument, sculpted canals, collapsed walls, and large stone blocks. This evidence, the underwater stone rings and walls, could just as easily be natural formations or from known ancient peoples.
Right, yeah.
Because here's something else.
Yeah, I think what a lot of these guys like to ignore or overlook, on maybe on purpose, maybe not on purpose, I don't know, is how many things in the natural world can look like walls that were built by humans.
Yeah, a lot of them can.
Yeah, we've seen that time and time again. There's the roads in Bermuda, right? The underwater.
Yeah, that little highway thing.
Yeah.
It's only one road. One road looking thing. That's also Atlantis, by the way.
Yes, that's also Atlantis, but that's in the Caribbean. It's not off the coast of Spain. These kind of things, they pop up underwater all the time, and it's just that sometimes natural stuff is straight or circular, or it just looks like a thing that a human would have made. They didn't, because it's natural. And that's my guess as to what's going on here, but anyway.
Yeah, and Donnellan also suggests that, again, these match Plato's story almost verbatim, in his words, and ties the destruction to a catastrophe 11,600 years ago. They have dating and all that stuff, and it matches Plato's dates for Atlantis.
Plato, who also wasn't there 11,600 years ago?
Also
that one? Okay,
that guy.
Got it.
Yeah. And who couldn't have known when it was.
Right. Oh, yeah, he didn't have the dating and stuff? Yeah.
He claims that only a quarter of the area has been explored, but that a full exploration could rewrite history. Yeah. So why is this a stretch? And why aren't mainstream archaeologists convinced?
Not even a little bit.
Yeah. The Live Science article points out that claims like this pop up regularly, first off. Like I said, there's Atlantis claims almost several times a year. And most experts' little BS detectors go off immediately. And one thing that's actually not in my notes here, but Live Science actually talked to Ken Feder.
Oh, okay.
And Ken Feder was a frequent guest, in fact, a co-host for a long time on the Pseudo-Archaeology podcast with the previous host of the show. And I actually did a whole series with Ken Feder because he has this book called, I think it's 50 50 archaeological sites or 50 sites or something that you should see before you die. The book he's got.
Okay.
And when I did my 365 days of archaeology, which ended up being like 450 days of archaeology, I kept it going for a little while longer. One of each of his chapters is a segment on that show. So I talked to him for each one of his, and it's actually really good. Such a cool guy, and he's very down to earth, and will tell you like it is.
Yes. He's a very take no BS kind of a guy, for sure.
And I'm sure the BS detectors comment came from Ken Feder.
That does sound like something he would say. Yeah.
Also, there's no peer-reviewed studies. The announcements were made through documentaries and press conferences and not scientific journals. That's an instant red flag.
Yeah.
Now, some of these people, like Graham Hancock, they immediately go, the academic institution likes to suppress ideas like this, so why would we go through their routes?
They're against us because it's not mainstream, blah, blah, blah.
I know.
The peer-reviewed system is broken, and so therefore we shouldn't use it at all. And like, we have talked about and criticized the peer review system because it isn't good sometimes, and it does let bad science through, and it's a really long, slow process that sometimes gets in the way of good science getting done. So there's a lot of reasons to criticize peer review, but that doesn't mean you do away with the system or go around it or don't use it entirely.
Yeah.
That's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
it's crazy.
The fact that there are no peer-reviewed studies, huge red flag right there.
Yeah. Also, another big red flag is the site he's actually talking about, or the area he's talking about, this Spanish site, has seen human habitation. The one underwater, by the way.
Oh, okay. So it is an actual site.
It's the area has seen human habitation.
Okay.
Because what we're talking about may have actually been exposed land. At that time.
Okay.
Because ice caps, we've talked about this with the Yukon.
Yes, we have.
You know, when the Yukon sucked up the world's water.
Yeah.
No, when the polar ice caps sucked up the world's water, a lot of the sea levels were much, much lower, including in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, we talked about this a lot in our last episodes about Beringia, but it was a worldwide effect.
Yeah.
And it meant that there's a lot more land
everywhere.
Everywhere back then.
Yeah,
everywhere.
Literally
had more
everywhere.
Land.
It didn't matter if they had ice or not. Global sea levels.
And that's why there's so much underwater archaeology these days, because many of these sites are preserved underwater.
Yeah.
And with the right equipment and money, you can excavate those, right?
Yeah, the biggest difference is they would have been hunter-gatherers for sure at 11,000 years ago.
Yes.
And not a super civilization or
Correct.
a lost civilization, because it just doesn't seem likely.
No.
I would not give it a 0% chance, but I'd probably give it less than probably 3%.
It's probably pretty low. The remains that you're going to be finding from that long ago, like the actual material remains are going to be, they're not going to be big, huge walls. It's just not going to be this kind of thing that you're going to find. But of course, that's their argument, is that this is an advanced society. It's really no arguing with that.
Yeah. And the evidence, of course, the walls, canals, and blocks, like we've talked about, like you said, could be natural, or, as we're saying here, from other ancient cultures.
Probably more recent ones, but
yeah. So, anyway. So, more about Michael Donnellan. Let's talk about him. And we're going to do that and talk about a little more of the science on the other side of the break. We'll be back in a minute. All right, welcome back to episode 311 of the Archaeology Show. Stepping in for the pseudo-archaeology show for a moment. Sorry, Andrew. Andrew's covered this.
Yeah, he has covered this, and we are super happy to link to his stuff because he is super great at going over all the details of this kind of crap too. So,
Yeah, so Michael Donnellan, I wanted to find out more about him because I'm like, in half the articles, the two of the articles I read, he was called an archaeologist. And I'm like,
so
is
annoying.
he? Like, I tried to find, I even tried some AI searches because they can search the web a little bit better than I can. And I tried some just basic web searches to try to find what his academic credentials are.
Right.
Literally nothing
Can't
shows up.
find it.
Yeah, and his academic credentials are unclear. His work is more publicized, his archaeological work, if you will.
Big quotes, but
is
go on.
publicized in fringe conferences and media, and not recognized academic circles. And I found out also that he started this film company, Igneos, I think it's called, or whatever, the one that's generating this in 2016 or something like that, 2015. Before that, he actually worked for, I think it was Disney, Universal, I don't know, stuff like that. So he's actually a filmmaker by trade.
Okay, so his background is in filmmaking. He's just interested in fringe archaeology. Cool.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And anybody who knows how to dive and can go get the right permits can actually go dive and find stuff and film stuff, and you don't have to be an archaeologist. And archaeology is one of those weird fields where people can just go out and find stuff and call themselves an amateur archaeologist, and a lot of articles will just drop the amateur part.
Yeah, they'll just take that.
Yeah, they'll just drop it.
Yeah.
I still think that's crazy, because if I go watch a bunch of all the seasons of ER, I can't call myself an amateur doctor.
You really cannot.
Nobody in their right mind would call themselves an amateur doctor.
Yeah, that's true. It's because of the whole licensing thing. Like, you have to be licensed for a profession like that.
You don't have to be licensed to be an amateur. I will argue that.
That's true, but because there isn't a licensing for archaeology, there's no amateur version of it.
I have watched a lot of Neil deGrasse Tyson stuff too. I'm pretty sure I'm an amateur astronaut.
Okay.
And I'm also an amateur astronomer.
I think you should go talk to NASA about that and see what they have to say.
Hey, you might take offense to this, but I would say you're probably an amateur professional baker.
Sure, I'll take that. Drop the professional word. I'm just an amateur baker. Well. Like, I make a lot of stuff. It doesn't always work out, but it's fine. I have fun doing it.
Anyway. All right.
Yeah,
so
anyway.
One of the other deals here, the YouTube commentary and Science Press typically highlights this guy's lack of mainstream archaeological background and the Cosmic Summit that he went to, which we've already mentioned, as a gathering for alternative history, and this is not rigorous science.
Yeah.
So the YouTube commentary specifically we're going to link to Flint Dibble, who we've mentioned before is an archaeologist, and he's been on Joe Rogan battling against Graham Hancock. He's a real voice and advocate for archaeology against pseudoscience and things like that. And he's doing a lot of really good work.
Yep.
And he actually had Andrew Kinkella on his show, and they talked for 3 hours.
About the Cosmic Summit?
Yeah, they did it live, actually.
Yeah.
And it was 3 hours talking about the Cosmic Summit. And it turns out Flint Dibble has fostered so much hatred amongst the other side, basically, that they had... Yeah, they had Flint Dibble masks done up, and people were wearing Flint Dibble masks. And one guy said, Flint Dibble showed this. I watched a lot of I watched a lot of Andrew and Flint's.
They're live?
They're live, yeah. And one guy showed a picture of him wearing a shirt, which is actually pretty funny. But it said Flint sources, and it had stone tools on one side and Flint Dibble's face on the other. And it said both are tools, but only one is useful.
That's funny, actually.
That's pretty funny. He laughed. Flint laughed.
Yeah, I bet he did.
He said that the guy said a fan sent it in, but they're like making fun of him. No, you designed that. You had that shirt printed.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Anyway, so anybody who brings that much hatred upon themselves must be doing something right.
That is so shocking to me, because the couple interviews and shows of his that I've watched, he seems like such a level-headed, straightforward.
He tells it like it is, though.
He does tell it like it is, but he's never a jerk. Like in his Joe Rogan shows that he did with Graham Hancock, he never rose to the little bitchy fighting that sometimes people get into. That he never rose to that,
and he couldn't on that show.
He had to keep it level.
He does that on his show, though.
Oh, does he? I guess I haven't watched his show.
On his own show, he will get into it.
Okay,
like him and Andrew really had some commentary.
Oh, that's so funny. I'm gonna have to watch that now. Okay, here's what I took from Andrew's recap on his show. When you're wondering about this Cosmic Summit thing, what is it? Why does it exist?
Yeah.
Why would people go there? Who are these people that are presenting? First of all, it sounds like it was actually pretty small. Like, it wasn't that huge. Graham Hancock wasn't even there, and he's like the king of this kind of information.
The first thing I did is I went to the speaker page to see if his name was on it, and it wasn't.
He definitely wasn't there.
Yeah.
But the way Andrew described it in his show is that there's 3 types of like presenters. One is the complete charlatans that are just making stuff up and hoping to make a buck, right? The second type is like people who actually believe what they're doing, and it's like a little bit sad. And then the third is like this sort of, they're actual academics who are on the fringes and can't quite get their stuff published because it's a little too fringy for mainstream science.
Yeah.
So they go over to something like this, but then like it's a little too sciencey for something like this too.
Right.
So they have this like nowhere place, which sucks for them because fringe stuff does become mainstream stuff sometimes. I'm not talking about Atlantis right now, by the way. I'm talking about other presenters at this conference.
Because they're talking about a lot of stuff at that conference.
Yes, a lot of different wild and crazy things. So anyway, those are the people that are presenting there, and those are the kind of people that are like following this sort of news, people that just go in for the conspiracy theory. Yeah.
All right, so a little bit about Atlantis, science versus story sort of thing. Does Atlantis actually exist? Is this something we should even be looking for?
Right.
So Plato's Atlantis, because Plato wrote about it, was likely an allegory or a story and not a land survey.
No.
He described this thing in intricate detail, which is why people try to look for it, right?
Yeah, because they think that much detail must mean that it was real.
Yeah.
But it came from the brain of a person who was a writer.
Yeah.
He was a writer.
Yeah.
Of course it had a lot of detail.
Yeah, most classical scholars see it as a myth and not literal history.
Yeah.
As well they should. Many discoveries of Atlantis have been made over the years in Greece, North Africa, the Caribbean, as we said, and even Antarctica. But none have stood up to scientific scrutiny, of course.
Of course not.
They've all fallen down.
Yeah.
It's a great story, but as much as we'd all have defined Atlantis, this is a quote, there's no solid science here, just a lot of wishful thinking and a dash of documentary drama. I'm pretty sure that one was from Ken Fader in Life Science.
It just makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody wants this dream to be true. It just, it just can't be.
We just have to emphasize basically that you have to be pretty skeptical about things like this. The simple fact that we've got like Aquaman does not help, right? Because that's basically Atlantis.
Yeah.
And, the
Like
Little
the Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
But the thing is, those are stories. And
we all want it to be true.
And yes, but we all know it's not true.
The crazy thing is, like 70% of the Earth is covered in water, and most of the ocean has not been explored.
Yeah.
Like, that's a crazy thing.
That is a crazy thing.
But I still feel like if some ridiculously advanced civilization was living down in the water somewhere, or maybe not even human, that grew up, I'm not talking aliens, but some other species that can communicate and do whatever is living down in the water. I just, really nothing? No evidence whatsoever?
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing's come to the surface?
Yeah.
In how many years?
And even if you believe that one of these times that supposedly Atlantis has been found,
Yeah.
and this is an advanced civilization from 11,000 years ago or however long they're saying this time around, why aren't there other places? Now that you're the researcher who has found Atlantis. Yeah. Where's the other sites? Go find the other ones.
Every major civilization throughout history that has put up cities, temples, whatever they've done, has also done other things. They didn't
never
stop
been isolated.
At one.
Never.
Yeah. No, people are crazy, power grabbing, power hungry, and they want to put up more temples and cities to their own greatness. They want to expand, and when you have large cities, you have lots of people.
Yeah.
People prosper. That means you have more people, and you need more cities.
Yeah.
So,
and people disagree, and they're like, I don't like the way this guy is doing it, so we're going to go over here and take all of our money and all of our resources and build a different city over here.
The one thing I haven't heard, all these claims of Atlantis across the world, maybe they were all Atlantis. Maybe they were all different cities from the same civilization. Only one's Atlantis. The others have different names.
Please don't give
Nobody's
them
ever
ideas.
said that I've heard.
Please don't give them ideas. Seriously.
So,
oh my God.
But anyway, that's the kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would expect to find if there was an advanced civilization. Everybody wants it to be lost in advance too. I don't understand why that has to be the case. There's plenty of old civilizations that were pretty advanced for their time that are no longer around, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing is, this one that was around back, again, 11,000 years ago. Now, I don't know a whole lot about what became the Mediterranean right there around that time and how the Mediterranean filled in. But we talked about with the Yukon. I mentioned the Columbia Plateau in eastern Washington, and there's definitely been other places where this has happened. But when the glaciers start to melt and they really start to pick up speed on the melting, and you get these glacial lakes that are basically stopped up by either ice dams or something else, and that opens up, it can literally flood a lot of things in a very short period of time. And according to Plato, which again, how does he even know what happened 9,004 years before he was alive?
There's no way he could have known.
But let's just say he did somehow find evidence of this, even if he could. But anyway, they said Atlantis was basically sank into the sea in a day and a night.
Yeah.
That's what he wrote, right? So that's about the only way it could have happened. It was either earthquake, that's why Santorini was one of the common thoughts of why that's what, because Santorini's basically was an island and now the middle's gone. Okay. Because it was a volcano or an earthquake or something, and basically the whole middle of it just sank below the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sank below the sea into the Mediterranean or whichever sea it's in. I know it's in the Mediterranean, but one of the little offshoots there.
Oh, yeah. One of the like little bays or whatever one it is. Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just wondering, 9,000 years ago, if this was land, was there a catastrophic fill-in event that could have destroyed something that was there? Now, that something probably wasn't monumental stone architecture, but hey, there could have been an ancient culture back then that was figuring some stuff out. The Egyptians were doing it 6,000 years ago.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess that is always what gets me too, right? Like, why does it have to be an ancient advanced civilization, as in, like, why couldn't it have just been a civilization from back then who was doing some cool shit for that time?
Yeah,
you know?
If we're talking concentric stone rings in a temple, I could almost believe that 11,000 years ago.
Yeah, because
it's not totally inconceivable.
What's the old one in Turkey that's about that time?
Çatalhöyük.
Yeah, that's about that time, right? And
no,
that's Turkey. It's different, but it's not that far away from there. So if you want to say that this might be a site that is contemporaneous with what was happening in Turkey, like, sure, people could have been doing that.
I'll give it that.
No, I don't know anything about the history of Spain specifically or this region, so maybe the people in that area weren't that advanced yet. But
you know, humans, Neanderthals, all over the place right there.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Yeah. So it's like, why does it have to be this like super crazy advanced civilization that disappeared and left behind this underwater? Like, it doesn't have to be that.
Yeah.
It could just fit right into the normal archaeological record.
Right.
Ugh, the sensationalism of it all really gets me.
Yeah. Sounds like it's time for a glass of wine.
I think it might be. Yeah. The sun's going to set in approximately 4 hours.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
it does.
I guess it's 3 hours now.
Yeah, 3 hours now.
Yeah.
11:11 I've got on my phone here.
Oh, yeah, exactly 3 hours from now. Cool.
All right. That's about all we've got for this time. Again, stay skeptical and don't believe everything you read.
Yeah.
Dive into it.
And if just really quick, when you're looking at your news sources and you get something that doesn't seem like a science first news source, go find a science news source to either corroborate or be skeptical of what you're reading.
Or hey, use AI, because you can use Gemini. Gemini is actually more current than ChatGPT. And actually, I went to Gemini and I said, I was wondering about the cosmic conference thing. And I said, what are the criticisms from academics about cosmic conference, and cite your sources?
Oh, yeah, you have to say, say what it said.
I don't think I have it up anymore. It deletes my history, but it basically, one of the little paragraphs was prominent archaeologists like Flynn Dibble and Dr. Andrew Kinkella.
That was my favorite.
Were saying that basically this was akin to like a clown show. That's what it said. I was like, oh, that had to be Andrew that said that.
I don't know. It sounds like Flint could have said that too.
It sounds like either one of them could have said it.
Honestly, if you want to know more about this, don't scour the internet. Just go listen to those two.
Yeah, just go listen to that.
Links are in the show notes.
Links in the show notes.
Yep.
All right. With that, we'll come back next time with hopefully not something so crazy and some
I don't know
news.
if
Rachel gets her way, I don't know what she's cooking up.
I have a fun episode idea. Okay, I don't know if it's going to be the next one or if it'll be one after that, but it's coming. So
oh my God.
It's going to be super fun.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. The Archaeology Podcast Network's chief editor is Rachel Roden. Our executive producer is Ashley Airy. Our social media and newsletter coordinator is Matilda Siebrecht. The APN was founded by Chris Webster and Tristan Boyle on December 1st, 2014. We're supported by our amazing podcast hosts, many volunteers, and listeners like you. Check out membership at www.archpodnet.com/members.
This has been a presentation of the Archaeology Podcast Network. Visit us on the web for show notes and other podcasts at www.archpodnet.com. Contact us at chris@archaeologypodcastnetwork.com.